They feel that they still love him and that they didn't give him enough of a chance to understand that she was the perfect girl for him. And they're not in love with the person, Amy. They're in love with the dream. Well, if I just do this one thing, he'll see how wonderful I am, and this won't happen again. A quality man wants a quality woman, and a quality woman sets the standards and the boundaries right from the beginning.
Welcome to yourbrilliance.com. I'm your host, Amy Waterman. And today our topic is how to heal from a bad relationship. You know, we've all had relationships like that, ones that left us feeling kind of yucky about ourselves. You don't necessarily want to get back with them, but you want to feel good inside again. You want to get your mojo back. You want to put all that bad stuff behind you and move on. But it's hard. You know, even if it was a bad relationship and he was a jerk, that doesn't mean you won't still miss him. It's tough transitioning back to being single, especially if your relationship made you doubt yourself. So to talk to us about how we can get back on our feet again, we've invited Susan Ball onto the show. Susan's the founder and CEO of Broken to Blissful. She's an author and sought-after international speaker on the topic of abusive relationships, sharing her message of building joy on the journey from victim to survivor to thriver. She's also a self-love activist and a woman's freedom coach with certifications in NLP and Reiki. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you for having me, Amy. I'm so happy to be here.
So your work is with women who are coming out of really bad relationships, like really, really ugly stuff. How do these women feel when they finally get out? You know, is it all joy and relief and celebration?
No, it's confusion and guilt and shame.
Wow.
So, yeah, they feel that they still love him and that they didn't give him enough of a chance to understand that she was the perfect girl for him. Very odd way, but that's what they're getting at. And they're not in love with the person, Amy. They're in love with the dream. They're in love with what they were told, what they were fed, what they were manipulated to believe. And they start to get into a pattern of, well, if I just do this one thing, he'll see how wonderful I am, and this won't happen again. We'll be good. So they pattern into that dream, that wish, that hope, and don't recognize that they are not in love with that man. They're just in love with this idea.
Wow. That's powerful. Because I think all women have been in these kinds of relationships where even if it was a bad relationship, we still feel we failed. You know, even if we weren't the one who ended it, even if he ended it, and all of our girlfriends are saying, yeah, girl, you should have cut that off a long time ago. We feel like we failed because the job of a woman is to hold the home fort and create harmony, and we failed.
Yep. And there's a sense of that question of, will I ever find love? Normally in an ugly relationship, there's been some sort of verbal bullying, emotional bullying. So she comes out of it thinking, I'm worthless. If he can't love me, who's ever going to love me? I'm never going to find that true love. And what she doesn't recognize is that the issue is her own self-worth to begin with. And I know that that was true for me. I went through 3. Emotional, ran for my life. After the 3rd one, I had to go inside my head and go, okay, you're the common denominator here. Hello? And I took some time off and really reflected on what was going on with me. I had no boundaries. I just wanted people to love me. Oh, you love me? Okay, let's go. right? And so all of those patterns that an abusive man or a toxic man shows, we fall right into it if we don't have good self-worth.
What's interesting to me is often when we think about, if we've had one bad relationship after another, we think, well, guys are two-faced. They come across as looking gorgeous, and then we get into a relationship and they're bad. And so what's happening to me is I'm just picking these men who are showing their true colors. It has nothing to do with me because these men seem so amazing in the beginning. But what you're saying is that actually in a bad relationship, one of probably the first questions we should ask ourselves is, how did I contribute to this situation? Not because I was responsible, but because I allowed this to go on as long as it did, and I didn't end it the minute I was mistreated.
And therein lies the problem. And that is a lack of self-confidence. That's not victim blaming in any way. It truly is self-reflection. I had no boundaries. So you could call me names and I go, oh, okay. Now if somebody called me names, I'd go, you know what? On your way. Because you set boundaries. More importantly than that, you stand up for them.
But the problem is we think that it's going to turn him off. Like, that is one of the biggest issues I find in the beginning of a relationship, is that we as women are so willing to accept misbehavior because we think, well, I don't understand him very well, and he was probably just having a hard day, and I do bad things too. And part of it being a relationship is forgiveness. And so we are so open to accepting that bad behavior because we think, this is what relationships are about. None of us are perfect.
And that's true in a lot of ways. But is there a pattern? Is there a pattern? Is he coming home every night after work and is a jerk? Is a jerk. There's nothing nice about him. Is he demanding sex? That's a big issue in ugly relationships. They use it for power and guilt and shame and all of those things. Is he going out without you a lot with no explanation? We all know in a relationship, I have a good, healthy relationship. He goes out, but I generally have an idea of where he is. I don't want him to be home at 11 o'clock or when the lights come on, but you have an idea of where he is. But if he's going out, staying out all night and then telling you a story, unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Wow. So one of the things then that I'm hearing is that one of the things we have to look at ourselves, especially because what we're talking about is you've got out of this relationship, at least you're out now. What does it mean to be a people pleaser? And what does it mean to value the love of a man more than yourself?
The thing is, and I'm going to say this to the listeners, a quality man wants a quality woman, and a quality woman sets the standards and the boundaries right from the beginning. She's not afraid to say, this is not working for me, it was great meeting you, and walk away. She's not afraid to be alone. I give this analogy to my clients. Those of us who keep getting into ugly relationships, we're kind of like Swiss cheese. And we're looking for somebody to fill up all those holes. Happiness, joy, adventure, travel, all these things. If I just had this guy, all of that would be filled up. And the truth of the matter is, that fill up comes from you. All of it comes from you. And when you're whole and complete and you value yourself, you project that and you attract quality men who value themselves into your life. And together you co-create. You're not looking for somebody to fill up gaps. You're all full up. But you can still grow and you can co-create, and you're coming at it from a completely different perspective. And you attract men. The average woman goes out on a date, and I've spoken to a lot of relationship coaches about this, and I was guilty of this. You go out on a date and you meet a guy, you're going to meet him at the restaurant. And what are women thinking? Am I dressed too sexy? I better not order spaghetti because it might get on my clothes. Is my hair okay? Am I laughing too loud? Do I talk too much? All internalized approval that they're looking for. A woman of value goes on a date and says to herself, he's very handsome, but what value does he add to my life? So she's not looking for approval. She's looking for a partner. She's built her life.
Wow. That's fantastic. I love that. I want to go back to how you get to that place, though. So you've left this relationship and you're starting to realize that maybe you have people-pleasing tendencies. Maybe you stayed in that relationship too long. Maybe you should have put your foot down, and you want to be that woman who can go on that date and say, you know what? No, not going to happen to me. So how do you make that transition? How do you slowly build your confidence back? How do you slowly build those sense of boundaries? How do you slowly build those standards?
Well, I have a very simple rule for all of the listeners to understand confidence. Pardon me. Confidence is simply the memory of success. Okay? So here's an example. You're going to go skydiving, and it's your very first time. You've never done it before. So where's your confidence level? It's in the toilet. You're like, I'm going to die. What if he doesn't hold on to me? What if the chute? Blah, blah, blah. Then you do it, and you land on your feet, and it was fun. Now, the next time you're asked, your confidence level is way up here. Why? Because you've had success. So every time a woman who's been hurt, like I was, steps out of her comfort zone and does something different and succeeds, I want her to celebrate, pat herself on the back, go, yay, I did it. Because every time she does that, she's building, 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 building. And I'm not talking about the big things, Amy. I'm talking about all the little mini things. You know, if you've never gone and had a coffee by yourself in a coffee shop, and it's your first time doing that, when you come out, stand in the street and go, yeah, like I did it. I didn't die. Everything was okay. Nobody laughed at me. And every time you do that, you are strengthening your value, your personal self-worth. So it's simply the memory of success.
Wow. So one of the things that makes you feel like a failure when you get out of these relationships is this sense that not only have you failed the relationship and people are going to look at you and think, oh yeah, she can't hold down a guy, but the personal failure, you know, the fact that you failed yourself, you didn't see the red flags, you didn't set boundaries, you didn't see his true colors. There's a lot of guilt involved when you come out, not to mention the shame of the fact that you allowed all this to happen in the first place. How do you start wading through those really difficult emotions?
The very first assignment I give all of my clients and all the ladies who are listening is write yourself every day, at the beginning of the day, write a note that says, today I forgive myself for any mistake I might make. And as you do that every day, and then suddenly you make a mistake, you're at work, you make a mistake, or you're out with somebody and you make a mistake, you go, oh no, wait, I already forgave myself for that. I'm good.
Wow.
And it builds your forgiveness muscle so that you're starting to move into that place where you can look back and say, yeah, you know what? I made mistakes and I forgive myself. So I never ask anybody to forgive themselves for what they did in the past. Start now, right now, today, write that note and just keep doing it every day. And you'll find yourself after a while going, oh, I made a mistake. Oh, I'm over it. I'm done with it.
And that's confidence, isn't it? Confidence is knowing that you're okay. You're not perfect, but that's fine. And that's the one thing that probably the past relationship didn't give you, because in bad relationships, you get in trouble for every mistake. You didn't measure up to your guy's expectations of you and you let him down. And so you get penalized in a bad relationship when you make mistakes.
Yep.
So to learn that you could have a relationship with yourself that's not like the relationship he had with you, but that's a relationship that's supporting, and it's teaching you, I'm going to treat myself this way, and I'm going to look for a man who treats me the way I now treat myself.
And I call that rebel self-love, because you're kind of rebelling against the system. And one of the things that I have to, this is a very important message to everybody who's listening. Part of confidence is stopping doing these things: gossiping, criticizing, and complaining. They are very negative behaviors. And when you're doing them, in your subconscious, you know that people are doing them about you. Right? Okay, so now I'm gossiping about you. And I'm feeling all good about gossiping about Amy. But when I leave that conversation, then I have self-doubt, because I'm going, well, that person might go and tell Amy, or Amy might be gossiping to 3 other girls about me. And it's a circle. And the only way to break it is to stop doing it.
So what I'm hearing is that this isn't just about his relationship with you and your relationship with you, but it's about transforming your relationship with every single person in your life. You're going to treat other people, regardless of what relationship you have with them, they could be strangers, in the way that you wish you had have been treated and the way that you're now treating yourself. It's a total broad lifestyle change, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's time to start reflecting what you want and getting rid of the people around you who are negative. So if you have girlfriends who you get around and you're having a glass of wine, all they do is complain, criticize, and gossip, start to wean yourself off of those people. Look for positive people to hang out with, who are going to painting parties and laughing and planning adventures, and we all complain. That's natural. But how long does it last? You know, if you tripped over the sidewalk because the sidewalk's uneven and you're walking with your friends and you go, oh, friggin' sidewalk, and everybody laughs, that's okay. But if you're still talking about the sidewalk by the time you get to the restaurant, not okay. Do you see the difference?
Absolutely.
Because we all trip and we all, yeah.
So what it's doing is it's starting to reduce the negativity in your life. You know, that's what the bad relationship was about. It was a huge source of negativity and it was a huge source of pain. And so when you start to remove that negativity one by one, stop being negative towards yourself, stop being negative towards your friends, stop, then what happens is you start to move into an energy of positivity. And that's probably where you're going to attract that really healthy man.
Absolutely. And of course, I have to say, gratitude is a big part of the healing journey. For me, I lived in a furnace room with 2 kids. And my friend said to me, you should really start being grateful. And I flipped. I went into some sort of, what are you on about? And she sat very patiently while I did that. And then she said, well, start with being grateful you're no longer with him. And I went, oh, that's a valid point. And that started the process of gratitude. So even if you feel that you're in your darkest hour and you have nothing and you'll never be loved again, get out a pen and a piece of paper and write something that you're grateful for. Even if it's just breathing or you had a good hair day, it doesn't matter.
Now, you've written a book about how to develop some of these skills, and it's called Courage and Grace. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. It's my personal journey through healing. I got very caught up, and a lot of people do, in the victim mentality after leaving. And my relationship was violent. Physically violent, and you get caught up in and going to group counseling where you're all comparing stories, where you feel your story isn't good enough to be part of this group. No one encourages you to explore your self-worth, set boundaries, do any of those stuff. You're just always talking about him. So I learned different techniques to heal myself. One of them was giving it a name, so it was no longer personalized. So I call it the incident. It's just a block of time in my life that happened. Depersonalizes. All sorts of tips and tricks for getting through this bad time and writing that new chapter, because it is so worth it if you do the work.
Now,
Very
for those of you listening, if you want to check out Courage of Grace and maybe you want to work with Susan and find out what she has to share, we've got a link for you. Just go to yourbrilliance.org/Susan. That's yourbrilliance.org/Susan. Now, Susan, we're coming to an end, and thank you so much. This has been fabulous, fabulous, self-affirming stuff. And I wanted to know if there was any last message you'd like to leave our listeners with.
You are, and I can't say this any clearer, you are worthy of love, compassion, respect, peace, quiet, joy, and all of those things. Never let anyone diminish your sparkle. Go out there and get it.
Love it. Thank you, Susan, and thank you out there for listening. We hope to see you again soon. Until then, let your brilliance shine.